bright forest, all the animals were busy enjoying the day. Butterflies flew around colorful flowers that were red, blue, and yellow. The forest looked magical, with vines hanging from the tall branches and little fireflies twinkling like tiny stars in the shade. Hidden among the trees was a very clever fox. He was a beautiful orange color with a soft white belly and a long, bushy tail with a bit of black at the tip. His eyes were bright and full of mischief, and he wore a small, sly smile on his face. The fox loved to explore the forest quietly. As he walked, he listened carefully to the sounds of the jungle. He smelled something interesting on the wind, a special scent that made him stop and think. He saw a small fox's paw print on the soft ground, and then a quick glimpse of his own reflection in a little puddle. With quiet steps and a light bounce in his step, the fox followed the scent, his ears perked up and his eyes full of curious sparkle. High above the forest, on a strong branch of an old tree, sat a proud crow. The crow was very beautiful, with shiny black feathers that sparkled when the sun touched them. Her eyes were small and bright, and her beak was sharp and curved. She looked very smart and important as she sat there. In her beak, the crow held a big golden piece of cheese. It was the most delicious treat she had ever seen. The crow was very proud of her cheese. She thought, "I found something very special today." The tree swayed slightly in the breeze, and the crow held her prize tightly, watching the jungle below with her sharp eyes. Down on the ground, hidden among the green grass and leafy trees, the clever fox saw the crow and her cheese. His tummy rumbled at the sight of the cheese. The fox thought, "That cheese looks so tasty, I must have it." But he knew he could not fly up into the tree like the crow, so he decided to be very clever instead. The fox crouched low on the ground and crept closer to the tree. He walked very carefully so as not to make any noise. With each soft step, he moved closer, his tail gently swaying behind him. The fox had a secret plan in his mind. He smiled to himself and thought, "Maybe I can trick the crow into giving me her cheese." The clever fox gathered his courage. He looked up at the crow and said in a smooth, friendly voice, "Oh, magnificent crow, your feathers are as dark as the night sky, and they shine so beautifully in the sunlight." The crow, who had never been called magnificent before, lifted her head and blinked in surprise. She felt very special to be praised in such a nice way. The fox continued, "And surely a bird as lovely as you must have the sweetest voice in the whole jungle." The crow's eyes grew wide. She had always thought her voice was good, but no one had ever told her it was the best. Feeling very proud and a little curious, the crow thought, "Maybe I should sing for him. After all, he seems to like me so much." The fox's eyes sparkled with excitement as he waited. He listened carefully for the crow's song, ready to catch his chance. The clever fox pretended to be very interested and patient. He sat down quietly under the tree, his tail slowly flicking back and forth. Inside the crow's heart, a mix of happiness and nervousness grew. She felt very proud, but a tiny part of her wondered if the fox was truly kind. Still, the beautiful compliments made her feel so good that she decided to give him a song. "I will sing my best song," she thought, "so that everyone in the jungle can hear how wonderful I am." Just then, a strong gust of wind blew through the trees. The branch on which the crow was sitting wiggled a little bit. At the same time, the golden piece of cheese slipped from the crow's beak. The cheese flew through the air, tumbling down like a little falling star. The crow was so surprised that she forgot to sing. Her eyes grew big with shock as she watched the cheese move closer and closer to the ground. Down below, the clever fox saw the cheese falling and his heart jumped with joy. He quickly stretched out his paws and caught the cheese right in the middle of the air. The fox's eyes shone with delight. He thought, "At last my plan worked. I have the cheese." But the crow was very sad. She felt ashamed and hurt because she had let her pride and her desire to be praised make her forget what was most important. Instead of singing a beautiful song, she had lost her special treat. The crow looked down at the fox, her head hanging low and her feathers drooping with regret. The fox, feeling very happy with his clever trick, tasted the cheese slowly. He chewed it carefully, savoring every bite as if it were the most delicious meal in the world. Meanwhile, the crow sat alone on her branch, thinking about her mistake. She wished she had trusted her own good sense rather than getting carried away by flattery. After enjoying the cheese, the fox began to walk away through the forest. He felt very proud of himself. His tail flicked happily as he trotted along, thinking of how clever he had been. The forest was quiet now, with the warm sunlight beginning to soften as the day passed into the late afternoon. A gentle breeze played with the leaves, and a soft stream whispered as it flowed by. The fox stopped near the water and looked at his reflection. He smiled, happy with his trick and his tasty reward. High in the tree, the crow watched the fox leave. Her eyes filled with both sadness and a little bit of anger. When the sun began to set, the entire forest became bathed in a soft golden glow. The trees swayed gently, and the quiet of the evening wrapped around every living thing. Up above in the sky, the crow finally took a deep breath and spread her wings. She promised herself that she would never let flattery trick her again. From that day on, the crow remembered to trust her own judgment and not be carried away by kind words that were not true. As the forest settled into peaceful silence, a gentle lesson spread among the trees, the stream, and the animals. The lesson was very simple. Never trust flattery over wisdom. The wise old trees and the chirping birds all seemed to agree. It was a day that taught everyone something important about being true to yourself. The clever fox, still happy from his little adventure, disappeared into the forest with a secret smile.